The job was simple. Watch the cameras, walk the halls, report anything unusual. But the rule sheet had blood stains and warnings written in shaky handwriting. I thought it was a joke until 2:47 a.m. when the mannequins started moving. I wasn't alone anymore. The mall after dark was nothing like the one shoppers saw during the day. The laughter, the hum of the food court, and the echo of children's footsteps vanished with the last shutter that rolled down. What replaced them was a vast silence, alive, breathing, waiting. They hired me because the last guy quit or disappeared, depending on who you asked. I didn't believe in ghost stories or cursed malls, and I sure as hell didn't believe the crazy rumors floating around the security office. I just needed the paycheck. My mom's medical bills weren't going to pay themselves. My shift started at 10 p.m. By 10:05, I was handed a laminated list by an old man with a sunken face and yellow eyes. His hands shook as he passed it over. "You follow these rules," he whispered, leaning in, "or you won't make it to sunrise." I took the list, laughed, mostly to hide the chill running up my spine. There were 13 rules. Lock the main doors by 10:15 p.m. Triple check. If they're open at 10:16, it's already too late. Phew. Never, ever go near the fountain after midnight. If you hear it running, pretend you didn't. The mannequins in the fashion store move. They don't like to be watched. Cover the cameras after 2 a.m. 4. If you hear footsteps behind you, don't look back. No matter what, and so on. Rules, warnings, threats disguised as policies. I shook my head, smiled politely, and shoved the list into my jacket pocket. Got it. No ghosts, no problem. The old man didn't laugh. He just left without another word. The first hour was uneventful. Just me, the buzz of the security monitors, and the occasional flicker of fluorescent lights. I drank stale coffee and watched reruns of old camera footage, looking for movement, looking for anything out of place. Then came 2 a.m. The feed from the East Wing, the fashion district, started to blur. Just that one section, static crawled. Across the screen like a virus. And through the fuzz, something shifted. Slowly, unnaturally, the mannequins. They weren't where I remembered them being. Earlier, they were all posed in front of the glass, facing out. Now, 3 of them were facing inward, toward the security camera. One had a cracked smile that hadn't been there before. I wiped my eyes. "I'm just tired," I told myself. Then, my walkie crackled. "You forgot to cover the cameras." The voice was wrong. Gurgling. Hollow. It wasn't the old man. It wasn't any voice I knew. I dropped the walkie. The feed from the East Wing went black. The air went cold. I remembered Rule 3. I should have covered the cameras after 2 a.m. I stood, hands trembling as every light in the corridor outside flickered off one by one, like dominoes falling in reverse. Closer, closer, closer. I ran. Through the West Wing, past the arcade, past the food court. I didn't stop until I hit the janitor's closet. Slammed the door shut, flipped the lock, and sat in the dark, shaking. Silence. Then laughter. Childlike. Echoing through the vent. There are no children here at night. I checked the rule list again. Rule 7.7. If you hear a child laughing, lock yourself in and don't come out until the prayer bells chime. What the hell were prayer bells? Then I heard it. A slow clang, 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 like a bell made of bones ringing somewhere deep in the mall. With each toll, the laughter faded, leaving behind only silence. I waited. When I finally stepped out, everything was back to normal. The mannequins were gone from the feed. The lights were on. Even the fountain was still. I made it to dawn. Barely. As the sun cracked the sky, the old man returned. He didn't speak, just nodded at me like he had expected I'd survive. I handed him back the list. "Keep it," he said. "You'll need it tonight." And I realized something. The rules weren't for safety. They were a bargain, a fragile contract. Between this world and something else, the mall remembered me. That night, it didn't wait for 2 a.m. to start its games. The rules shifted, the shadows whispered, and something new had joined the list. Something that watched from behind the glass, waiting for me to break one more rule. Daylight felt like a lie. The sun peeked through the parking lot windows, warm and indifferent to what had happened hours before. I drove home, hands gripping the steering wheel like I could still feel the cold breath behind my neck. Sleep didn't come easy. Every time. I shut my eyes. I saw mannequins with too many joints. I heard footsteps that stopped when I stopped. And that voice, garbled, not quite human, kept echoing in my skull. You forgot to cover the cameras. I should have quit. I should have never gone back, but I did. Bills don't pay themselves. Fear doesn't feed you. And some dark, masochistic part of me wanted to understand what this place really was. At 9:55 p.m., I arrived. The old man wasn't there this time. Only the key ring and the rule sheet now stained darker than before. The ink looked fresh, like someone rewrote a part of it just before I arrived. I flipped it over and froze. A new rule had been added. Do not speak to your reflection after 1:30 a.m. If it talks to you, walk away. Do not respond, no matter what it says. I ran my thumb over the words. They weren't typed like the others. They were scrawled in blood-red ink, the letters shaky, uneven, as if written in a panic. By 10:15, I locked the main doors, triple-checked them, and started my rounds. The mall was breathing again. You could feel it in the air, a constant low hum in the vents, a static charge crawling over your skin like invisible insects. The cameras flickered. That was normal now. I kept an eye on them anyway, ignoring the twitch in my neck every time. The east wing fed in static. 3 a.m. The fountain started running. I stood in front of the monitor, watching the water flow even though it was dry during the day. Thick black liquid bubbled up instead of water. The sound wasn't a gurgle. It was whispering. Voices, dozens of them, all muttering the same word. Stay. I remembered Rule 2. Never ever go near the fountain after midnight. If you hear it, running, pretend you didn't. So I turned off the feed, looked away, sat down and counted slowly to 500. When I looked back, the feed was clear, the fountain dry, but something was watching. I could feel it. 27 a.m. I was in the restroom. The mirror. Above the sink was cracked like someone had punched it. I splashed cold water on my face, trying to stay awake. Then I looked up, and my reflection didn't match me. It smiled. I didn't. It raised its hand. I didn't. And then, it spoke. You're not real, you know. You never left the mall. My blood went cold. Rule 14. Do not speak to your reflection after 1:30 a.m. If it talks to you, walk away. It wasn't 1:30 yet. I still had 3 minutes, but the reflection didn't care. It pressed its hand to the glass. I backed away. Do you want to know what happened to the last guard? It whispered. Look under camera 6. I clenched my fists, turned, and walked out of the restroom. Didn't look back, didn't answer. The lights flickered above me like they were proud. Back in the control room, I pulled up camera 6. It overlooked the maintenance hallway, the one no one used. The feed glitched, then focused. There was something on the floor, a shape, a uniform, a security guard jacket, blood pooled around it. No body, just the uniform, and a walkie-talkie still blinking red. Then the feed went dark. Letters appeared on the screen like, a message typed from nowhere. You looked. The room went ice cold. My breath fogged the glass. Behind me, a soft knock on the office door. Knock, knock. Knock, knock. I didn't answer. I just slid under the desk, hands over my ears, heart pounding like a drum. Eventually, the knocking stopped. The Camera feed came back. It was dawn. I didn't quit. Not yet. Because when I opened the rule sheet again before heading out, there was a new stain across it. And below Rule 14 was Rule 15. Fresh ink, still wet. 15. If you survive the second night, don't tell anyone. They're always listening. Some places remember. Others feed. The mall does both. On the third night, it stopped playing games. Now it wanted me to see. It led me to a room that shouldn't exist and showed me what happens to those who break the rules. I didn't sleep after the second night. I didn't eat much either. Something about knowing you were almost tricked into talking to your own reflection will do that to a man. The third night was approaching, and I could feel it crawling under my skin before I even put the uniform on. A voice in my head kept whispering, "Don't go back! Quit! Run!" But another voice, something colder, said, "You're already part of it now." At 9:50 p.m., I stepped into the mall again. The air hit different this time. It was thicker, like stepping into a place underwater. The overhead lights buzzed louder. My footsteps echoed too long. The rule sheet was already waiting for me on the front desk. This time, it wasn't on paper. It was carved into the counter. The same rules, same warnings. But now there were 16. The newest read 16. If the elevator dings after 3 a.m., do not enter. No one called it. It is not for you. I stared at it for too long. My fingers traced the grooves, etched deep into the wood. Whoever or whatever had written it was in a hurry. The last letters were jagged, trembling. I pocketed my flashlight and radio and started my rounds. At 1:13 a.m., something strange happened. All the cameras went black, except one. Camera 9, the one that faced the back corridor behind the service. Elevators. That feed had always been dead. Static, broken wires, sealed shut. Now it was on, and it showed a door that shouldn't be there. A metal frame marked Archive Room, staff only. I had never seen that room before. It wasn't on any map. The hallway it stood in didn't even exist, but the feed was crystal clear, like it wanted to be seen, and the door was open, slightly, just enough to be inviting. Something in my chest twisted. My instincts screamed to ignore it, to follow the rules. But none of the rules mentioned the archive room. Not yet. So I went. The hallway was darker than the rest of the mall, like the lights refused to work there. I walked slowly, flashlight trembling in my hand, every step, echoing like I was walking into a tunnel that wasn't part of this world. And there it was, the archive room, steel door, wide open. Inside, shelves lined the walls, packed with files and VHS tapes. Thick dust blanketed everything. The air smelled of mildew, paper, and something deeper, something wrong. A soft humming came from inside, not mechanical, musical. A woman's voice, low and haunting, humming a lullaby I almost recognized. I stepped inside. As soon as I did, the door slammed shut behind me. The light flickered above. My flashlight died instantly. The room stretched far beyond what it should have, an impossible distance. I saw rows and rows of shelves stacked with security tapes marked with dates, some older than the mall itself. 1987, 1973, even 1959. How? I moved forward, trying not to breathe too loudly. At the end of the room was a small CRT monitor. It flickered on as I approached, showing the feed from camera 1, the main entrance. But it wasn't now. It was a different time. I saw a man sitting at the front desk, a guard. His face, familiar. The badge said Raymond Carter. That was the guy I replaced. The screen flickered again. Raymond was screaming, running through the mall, blood on his uniform. He slammed his fists against a mirror, and his reflection grabbed him. Then the screen went black, and a new one lit up beside it, this time showing me watching the tapes. I staggered back. That's when I saw the figure, in the reflection of the monitor. Not human, tall, skin like melted wax, no face. wearing a mall security uniform with a stitched name tag that read, "You." I turned to run. The shelves closed in on me. The room shifted like it was alive. Something whispered in my ear. "You saw too much." I don't remember how I got out. Woke up near the service corridor, bruised and cold, the archive room door gone, like it had never been there. AM. The mall was calm again. The mannequins hadn't moved tonight. The fountain was silent. The mirror didn't speak. But something had changed. When I returned to the security office, the rule sheet was burning. Slow blue flame. I watched it turn to ash, helpless, and in its place was a single line carved into the desk. There are no more rules now, only choices. The rules are gone. Burned, erased, or abandoned, whatever they were the only thing keeping me sane. Now the mall is shifting, growing, hunting. On the third night, it watched me. On the fourth, it whispered my name. I didn't want to go back. After the archive room incident, I spent the entire day staring at my ceiling, replaying that inhuman figure behind the screen, those ancient tapes, that humming voice that didn't belong in this century. Something had changed. The rules were gone, but so was the choice. Every hour that passed felt heavier, like the mall had stitched itself into my skin. At 9:00 p.m., I stood up like a puppet being pulled by strings. By 9:30, I was behind the wheel. At 9:50, I walked through the staff entrance like I had never left. There was no rule sheet waiting for me now, just the dim buzz of flickering lights overhead, and a hallway I didn't recognize branching off from the security office. It hadn't been there yesterday, or the day before. The floor tiles in the new hallway were too clean, too new, like it had just grown. And at the end of the corridor, I saw it. A black metal door. No handle, no keyhole, no hinges. Just the door, set into the concrete wall, like it was carved from shadow. As I stepped toward it, I realized my flashlight dimmed with each step. My radio buzzed nonsense, distorted voices like children trying to mimic adult speech. I stood in front of the door, and it whispered my name. Chris. I stumbled back. My name had never been said in the mall, not once. Not by the old man. Not by the voice on the radio, not even on the uniform I wore. I turned around, shaking, and walked back to the office. That's when I noticed the map on the wall, a map of the mall. Standard layout. East wing, west wing, food court, security post, emergency exits. But in the bottom right corner, someone had scratched something into the plastic cover of the frame. A circle, marking a room that wasn't listed. The space behind. The black door. It was labeled in red ink, the forgotten floor. I stared at it for a long time. Then the elevator bell rang. Ding, 3:01. AM, my breath caught. Rule 16. If the elevator dings after 3 a.m., do not enter. No one called it. It is not for you, but the rules were gone now. My hand moved on its own. I walked toward the elevator. It was open. Empty, lights dim. Inside, the panel glowed red with a single number flashing. One basement? There was no basement. The mall didn't have one. I'd seen the blueprints. But the elevator door stayed open, waiting, inviting. I stepped inside. The doors closed behind me. The ride down felt endless. No sound, no motion, just blackness on all sides beyond the elevator walls. I tried to press a different button. Nothing responded. When the doors opened, the air hit me like rot, thick, wet, heavy with mildew, metal, and something sour. The hallway beyond was lined with mirrors, tall, warped ones that distorted my reflection into long-limbed mockeries. Fluorescent lights above buzzed and flickered, casting shadows that moved even when I stood still. This was no mall. This was something beneath it. something older. I walked forward. Doors lined the hallway, some open, some locked. Each had a plaque. Employee, 03, breached employee, 017, unresponsive employee, 021, integrated. Then I found mine, employee 024, observed. The door creaked open on its own. Inside, a single table, a single chair, a tape recorder, a folder labeled Security Test Subject, Chris Wyatt. I was never hired, I was selected. I picked up the recorder and hit play. A voice, monotone, clinical, filled the room. Observation log. Subject 024 has survived 3 consecutive anomaly cycles. Psychological resistance rated 8.2. Subject displays increasing resistance to auditory manipulation, but remains vulnerable to visual triggers. Recommend further exposure. Archive integrity holding. Project Maleth progressing. I dropped the recorder. The mall. It was never just a building. It was a system, a trap, a test. I ran. Through the hallway of mirrors, past the doors, past the false walls. The air grew colder. The lights began to die one by one. And then I saw the mannequins. Not on camera. In person. They were waiting at the elevator, heads tilted, fingers twitching. Behind them stood the black door, now with a handle, and on it, written in white chalk, "Enter to graduate, refuse and repeat." I didn't move, because I knew, deep down, what was behind that door. Not hell, not heaven, just the truth. And the truth might be worse than either. There was never a job, never a paycheck, never a mall, only a system built to break minds, consume souls, and recycle reality. Now I stand before the final door, with my name written in chalk, and something on the other side that promises freedom, or oblivion. I stood frozen before the black door. Its handle pulsed faintly like it was alive. My name, written in chalk, had begun to fade, letter by letter, as if time itself was running out. Behind me, the mannequins stood in formation, their arms twitching like they were restraining something inside themselves. One of them tilted its head, joints cracking like dry branches. Another mouthed words it had no tongue for. Enter. I reached for the handle. It felt like bone. The door opened not with a creak, but with a sigh, like it was relieved. Inside was a white room. Blindingly white, seamless, sterile, circular, like a surgical chamber. No corners, no ceiling, no shadows. Just a single chair at the center. And next to it, a mirror, floor to ceiling, reflecting everything perfectly, except me. I cast no reflection. Nay. The chair sat myself, or a version of me, but older, paler, eyes sunken, skin like wax paper stretched over wire. He looked up slowly. "You made it farther than most," he rasped. "Most don't survive night 3. I didn't answer. "Couldn't," he continued. "You think this was about rules? About survival? This place was never testing your obedience. It was testing your resistance to truth." I shook my head. "What truth?" He stood. The room darkened, not with light but with knowledge, something ancient and vast and wrong. He pointed at the mirror. "Look." And I did. Not at myself, but at what the mirror showed behind me. The mall. But not as I knew it. Vast, shifting, alive. Its walls were ribs, its ceilings, flesh. Escalators were veins. The mannequins were its immune system. The cameras were its eyes. The mall wasn't a place, it was a creature. A thinking, dreaming organism disguised as architecture. Feeding on fear, adapting, evolving, testing. Every guard had been a lab rat. Every rule a variable. Every night a cycle. Those who died fed it. Those who broke the rules became part of it. Those who survived. He looked at me, graduate. The mirror changed again. Now it showed a room full of figures in white suits. staring at monitors, nodding. I saw my name flash on the screen. Subject 024, status, eligible cognitive resilience, high integration, initiating. Then I saw the word I dreaded most, replaceable. Yes, I backed away. What is this? What the hell are you? He stepped closer, his skin peeling now, face folding inward. You're not the first. You won't be the last. The mall is just one of many. He smiled, a mouth too wide. They build them where belief is weakest, where reality is thinnest, where rules are easy to bend and minds are easy to break, I screamed, and the mirror shattered. The mannequins flooded the room, not walking, crawling, convulsing, limbs snapping as they tried to hold on to shape. I ran, through white halls now stained red, past doors marked with names I recognized. Raymond Carter, Mallory West, names I had seen on reports, on plaques, on missing posters, all of them guards, all of them gone. I reached the elevator. It had only one button now, exit. I pressed it. The doors opened onto the rooftop. Night air hit my lungs like I had never tasted it before. Stars above. Lights of the town below. Freedom. Then I looked back one last time. The mall behind me flickered, like a projection slipping. For a moment, I saw it as it truly was. A sprawling, pulsating structure, alive, watching, waiting. Then it vanished, replaced by the clean, dead facade of Maple Ridge Galleria. I never went back. I don't know how long I was gone. My apartment was covered in dust. My phone had dozens of missed calls. My bank account never received a paycheck. It was like I was never hired, like I never existed. But I remember every night, every rule, every lie, and sometimes, just sometimes, when I walk past a mirror at 1:30 a.m., I still see the mannequins standing behind me. Final entry, 6 months later. This morning I received a letter, no return address. Inside was a single card. Security recruitment, Orchard Hollow Mega Center. Shift night. Pay excellent. Rules enclosed. On the back, handwritten in blood red ink. Subject 025. Welcome to the next mall. You think you're the survivor. You think you made it. But this place doesn't let you leave. It lets you believe. And belief is the most dangerous illusion of all. I stared down at the card in my hand. Subject 025. The next target. The next lie. I thought I had escaped. But the mall wasn't just a building. It was a seed, and it had already planted itself in me. That night, after burning the card and smashing my phone, I took a long look in the mirror. Not because I wanted to, but because I had to know, and I saw him again, my reflection, not doing what I was doing, not mimicking me, just watching. His face was smoother now, cleaner, sharper. Too perfect. His eyes blinked out of sync. He smiled before I did, and then he whispered, "You left the building, but you never left the program." I felt something break in me, like a tether snapping. Reality rippled, just for a second, but it was enough. The walls of my apartment bent. My furniture shifted. The streetlight outside flickered in binary code. This wasn't my world anymore. It was the mall's copy of it. Later that night, the sky blinked. Not thunder, not lightning, just a blink, like someone was watching us from above and forgot to keep the stars on. And then the dreams began again. I'd wake up in a janitor's closet, still in uniform, security badge still glowing. I'd hear mall music echoing through the vents. I'd see the mannequin standing at my bedside, unmoving, waiting. And I knew. I never left. Not really. One night, I found myself back at the security office. I don't remember walking there. The monitors were on, showing dozens of other malls, different names, different locations, same architecture, same shadows, same whispers. and each had a figure watching from the camera room. Each looked just like me. That's when he came back. The older me. The first version. The one who sat in the graduation room. But now, he was half-rotted. Wires ran through his skin. His eyes were static. His voice was hundreds of voices layered atop each other. You still think you're human? You passed the test. Now pick a side. He pointed to two screens. One showed me walking away from the mall, sunlight, life, forgetting everything. Starting over, living in ignorance. The other showed me inside the system, monitoring, managing, guiding the next subject, becoming the next architect. Choose, he said, freedom or purpose. But I knew the truth. Both were lies. There was only one real choice left. Destroy the mall, or become it. I reached into the control panel and pulled every lever, broke every switch, smashed every monitor, and as I did, the alarms screamed. The walls cracked. The mannequins wailed like children lost in time, and something inside the mall screamed back. A sound not meant for human ears. I ran. Through walls that bent like paper, through floors that bled light, through time loops and mirrored memories, until I reached the heart of the mall, the core. A vast circular chamber made of screens, wires, faces, hundreds of faces, screaming, begging, laughing, all the former guards, all the former subjects, all the ones who failed, and in the center, a massive pulsing nerve, plugged into reality itself. I had one last match, and a bottle of old security office whiskey. I lit it. The flame caught fast. The mall began to collapse, not in fire, but in concept. Ideas tearing apart, beliefs cracking, dimensions folding, and just before everything exploded into silence, I heard it whisper, "You only delayed us. There will always be malls. There will always be mirrors." Epilogue, I woke up on a bench, in a city I didn't recognize, my name forgotten, my ID blank. No one around me remembered Maple Ridge Galleria. It had never existed on any record. But I know. And as I walked past a storefront mirror later that day, I didn't see myself. I saw a new guard, putting on his uniform, sitting down for his first night shift, and on the desk in front of him, a list of rules.